What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is August 13th of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, we're going to be diving into why at this point, every single sign metric within the market is signifying that the bulls are in charge and that the market has proven not only that this is just a mid-cycle correction rather than a bear market, but that we have a lot longer way to go when it comes to price rising higher for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a whole. I'm going to try to do everything in less than about 10 minutes, so we don't have any time to waste. We're going to be diving straight into it, guys. And let's go ahead and start first with price analysis of Bitcoin. We're not looking at the short-term time frames. We're looking at the long-term time frames, the daily chart, the weekly, and the monthly, right? So I want to go ahead and first take a look at the daily chart over the past couple of months, since the beginning of the year here towards August, right? So first off, we have to talk about resistance points. As price started to decline here, going from April as we had lower highs and lower lows, this was the significant trend here that we spotted and signified that could lead us to have lower downward moves in price. And we got that. We came down here and formulated support around 30K. But once support is formalized, we have to see where price is going to go from there. What points of resistance is it going to face before it can continue climbing higher? And when we take a look at the chart, there are really a few key ranges here. You have the descending line of resistance from the two previous lower highs here. You had the higher low here, the lower high, right? And then you also have the general resistance range that was formulated back here in January of 2021 at the beginning of the cycle, which also proved some resistance throughout here. And again, it also played resistance here back in May and June of 2021, about 4 to 5 months later. But what we saw here is that price not only held a consistent support here, which was in line with what we saw back here, the midpoint here of the overall cycle so far, right? At this midpoint here, we rose up. Second wave here came down to the support range of the first wave, right? But not only that, we cleared through this resistance range, made this general range, this 2K range of price support, but we continue to send in higher lows and higher highs, where we've now not only cleared through any points of resistance, the descending line of resistance, these points of resistance, but have also made support here at previous support back from February. Also the range here where price broke through and price significantly declined. So we've now solidified that as support. We've gotten rid of the worries here in regards to the kind of 6 to 8 month time frame for Bitcoin. So this is really, really nice to see. And again, with the higher lows and higher highs, just like how we talk about lower highs and lower lows being a significant trend for the downside, this is a trend for the bulls in this case, for the optimism in the market. The people are paying higher premiums on corrections and they're paying higher premiums into rallies than what they would have paid before. We can see here as well for BLX. If we want to take a look at the longer term time frame, and we're looking at the theory of expanding cycles, where each cycle is adding anywhere from around 11 to 13 months from bottom to top, we're right on course for where we should be, right? We can see here we had 11 months previously, top to bottom. Here 24 months, top to bottom, 35 months, an 11-month interval increase. And if we reach right in the middle in this case, we don't know exactly if it's going to be 11 or 13 months. This seems like a very conservative trend line here that's very realistic. We've seen that price wanes around this line very cleanly, where we have periods of undervaluation for Bitcoin, periods where it's a bit more exuberantly valued in this case, where we go above the trend line. And again, we've been having these dramatic swings rather than the nice fixed parabolic line or exponential line for Bitcoin because of the leverage trading derivatives in the market. It started to distort the overall flow of capital in and out of the spot market valuation for Bitcoin, right? Let's take a look at Ethereum here. Ethereum, very clean-cut trend here that we've seen previously. We have this long-term line on the logarithmic chart that is proven as a point of resistance, as support and resistance. It's played very, very significantly and given us a good time frame to where we should expect some kind of resistance for Ethereum. And when we got to that 2K range, we knew we were getting towards the later phases of the altcoin cycle. But of course, we broke above here, went below there. We're still waning around this long-term line, right? And no matter what your preference is, whether you think Ethereum's going to, $20,000, whether you think it's going to 10K, higher or lower, it doesn't really matter. You can see here that we have a nice fixed line here that we should expect some general higher price range. Maybe not as much as what we saw last time, but it's right on course for where it should be. It's at generally mean value in this case, right? And then we would expect probably this to rally and then correct over the years towards this line once again, possibly even dipping below it. We don't know. It's not something we have to worry about right now. I want to go ahead and talk about the altcoin index. Right? This is the altcoin season index. You guys can find this online for free. And the one thing that a lot of people look at and you might want to notice here, is that as we're on the lower end here, we do technically enter into what's known as Bitcoin season. It basically means that 8%, so out of 50 of the top altcoins in the market, excluding Bitcoin, of course, because it's not an altcoin, only 8% are outperforming Bitcoin over the last 90 days. Now, this sounds terrible. This sounds like people are on a risk-off mode that you wouldn't want to buy altcoins, when in reality, altcoins have not only started to pick up here in the short term, they've shown some really great price action, but this is the opportune time to get into altcoins, as we covered back a couple days ago. You can see here at 9%, this is where the market had bottomed here, where altcoins were at a fantastic discount valuation, where just a month later from December, we started the altcoin cycle, where altcoin dominance here went from around anywhere from, you can say pick the bottom and stuff, but 27 to 30%, all the way up here to a market value of 60%, 3/5 of the entire market. And again, we can see here what it looked like back then. The noticeable sign is that you have a few outliers in the market. You had lending platforms like Celsius and Nexo really leading. You had some of the momentum plays like XRP and XLM coming in. And again, you generally have a few outliers. And that's exactly what we're seeing here within the NFT space with plays like Axie Infinity. A massive divergence from the general trend here. And again, that's the signs I like to see, because it showcases that people are starting to, in a few select plays, take on risk, see value propositions and fundamental adoption. And that is what sparks the next leg up. And if you guys want to take a look here at altcoin dominance as a whole, previous resistance made support, we're moving higher for this. We never broke past the previous all-time highs for altcoin dominance, and it is expected. I would assume that within each cycle, we are going to see more and more expansion of altcoin dominance. Even if people are more opinionated and they love Bitcoin, there is always going to be the creation of more and more altcoins, right? So it will slowly but surely over time take over more and more market dominance, most likely. Now I want to go ahead and take a look at a lot of the data science models and kind of rush through these. And this is looking at bitcoin.com. You guys can again always access this information online. But I want to go ahead and run through the one bearish indicator, the one bearish sign that people pointed to that said, Bitcoin in this case, it has reached a cycle top here. The pi cycle top indicator has clearly signified that this is the top of the market. The important thing to understand here is that even though we were over-exaggerated in price, as we talked about, just like we were back here in 2019 as we exited the bottom or consolidation period of the previous bear market, this does not mean that we're in a complete bear market. We had the pi cycle top come in here in April 2013, never entered into a full-scale bear market, and continued just a couple of months later to set a new all-time highs right under 1,200, right? So again, this is the one indicator that has been showcased to supposedly be a signal top for the market topping out and entering into a bear market. When in reality, we can see here the vast majority of data science models are showcasing that we entered into discount territory, that it was ready to go long in the market, right? Just like we were back here, we were overextended here during the period of time between March and May as we had COVID come in, right? You can see here as well, back here in November 2011, right? It was lived for a very short period of time. But this is something that we've seen similarly in a lot of other different time frames. Let's take a look at the MVRVZ score, right? Where have we seen a spike in the MVRVZ score, right? And come down here towards this 1-point range. Right back here in July of 2013, right? Very similar correlations in the sense of how the metric is moving, right? You have the first significant top around 2 here, like we saw back here in August of 2012, just like we saw here in June of 2019. We had an intermediate period where we moved higher. We had a vertical rally. Wasn't nearly as high as what we saw previously. We didn't get into the red zone, which would be a market cycle top indicator. We came down here to this 1-point range, and now we're starting to move back higher. Again, right? Difference in this case between market cap and realized cap. That's what this measures here, the deviation. Right? Let's go ahead and take a look at the other data science models. Our HODL ratio, right? Similar support range to what we saw back here in 2013. Again, why we likely saw the pi cycle top indicator flashing signals of crossover. Because we were, again, over-exaggerated for where we should have been in the cycle. Not a smooth uptrend line like we had here on most of the previous data science models for the 2016 and 2017 cycle. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin Investor tool, the 2-year MA multiplier, right? We can see here that we generally exist in the exacerbated range here. For those who don't know, this is taking the 2-year moving average, the green line, and multiplying its monetary value by 5x. So you can see that it follows smoothly with the green line, but at a higher heightened level. And you can see that when we get in these upper bands, this is generally a time to start getting cautious, to start taking profit, when in reality, we never actually crossed over the line, which we've done every single cycle, even during here in 2013, right? During this kind of mid-cycle exacerbated price. And the logarithmic curves showcase that for a long period of time, we've actually been in an oversold and discounted range for Bitcoin. And look at the support range we have here around 0.2, 0.5. Very, very similar, not distant off from the same topping range we had here in 2013, right? A little under 1, usually around 0.7 on the oscillator, coming down here to a similar support range, and now starting to recover higher towards the mid part of the band and eventually the higher part of the band. There isn't much else we can analyze, you guys, in regards to getting an idea of where the market is, right? And I want to be very clear on something. If I'm confident that this is a bear market, that we saw the exacerbated top and that it's over, I would focus on another market, guys. I've traded equities before, I've traded commodities. I can go out and trade Forex markets if I really want on longer term time frames. You can go invest in a variety of exciting sectors in the equity space. You don't have to always deal with crypto. But this is the most exciting asset class. There is no other asset class that is showing this kind of resilience, strength, volatility, albeit, but positive volatility for the most part. You can't have a market that's going to make crazy 5, 10, 20x multiples without some heavy 30, 40, 50, 60% corrections along the way. But if you can stomach those and you can realize that these exacerbated corrections are really as exacerbated as they are because of the excessive leverage in the market, then it becomes a lot clearer. So I don't know if I went over 10 minutes, guys. I probably did, but I do want to keep it clean, short and to the point, guys, and make it very clear that right here, right now, there are no signs right now. There's nothing in price, there's nothing in the data science models that are making us feel like we should go bearish here. And just imagine for a moment for those who were calling for 20K when we were down here at 30K. We've seen practically the opposite in price. It's best if you find yourself one step behind, riding the wave here and then getting pulled through the correction, that you don't find yourself 2 steps behind, assuming that price is just going to get worse and worse and worse. And when in reality, it starts to move higher. That's the key point you should keep in mind, guys, the lesson to be learned here today. So if you like this video, please consider dropping a like, sharing it with a family or friend member in the crypto space who's just as passionate as you are. And if I went over 10 minutes, you guys can go ahead and leave me a comment, giving me a hard time because I always like to ramble. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.